Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is a summarization of the shoot-around that I just did with the Queen Steph. You're going to want to check that out because we cover some very intriguing topics. For example, would Mike D'Antoni consider coming back to the New York Knicks to coach under Tom Thibodeau as an offensive coordinator? Or maybe Jalen Brunson's dad would come back and coach with Tom Thibodeau again. Very intriguing topics, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go check out that video. But for now, let's summarize. According to Ian Begley, the Knicks are adding Feron Hunt on a two-way deal and waiving our Luka. One of our Lukas, the big guy, the one that could shoot threes. The Knicks never got a chance to see Luka, ladies and gentlemen, not on the big boy team. He played for the G League team. He was doing some things there. But he's got an injury history. So the Knicks let him go, and they're bringing in Feron Hunt. He's 6'8", 195, 22 years old. Last played for the Texas Legends in the G League, where he averaged 18.1 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, and 2.4 assists. Now, you might be asking, how can the Knicks just pick him up off the Legends? It's because the Knicks are offering him a two-way deal, which means he's actually on the roster. So I asked the question, is he a duplication of Cam Reddish? And I know Cam Reddish is not playing this season. But, you know, when you bring in a guy that's on a two-way, with my thinking, you want to see the guy develop. You want to see what he can do. But listen, the Knicks are jammed full of wings. Evan Fournier, Alec Burks, Cam Reddish, R.J. Barrett. Even Obi Toppin is 6'8", 6'9". So in my opinion, if you're really trying to use the G League as a way to develop players, wouldn't you bring in a guy who fits a position of need? That's what Luka did. Even though he's a center and the Knicks got Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims and Nerlens Noel, none of those guys can shoot. Luka could shoot. But now maybe it just wasn't a sweet shooting five out there to bring in. So they said, hey, we'll bring in Feron Hunt. We'll see where it goes. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. And we get into it a little bit deeper on the full show. We talk about Leon Rose and his connections. And, you know, sometimes he does little tiny deals at the end of the roster. And it's because of relationships and connections and so on and so forth. Make sure you check out that conversation. Kenny Payne, ladies and gentlemen, he's leaving. He's on his way to Louisville as the head coach. In 2 years, the Knicks lose two very good coaches, Mike Woodson to Indiana and now Kenny Payne to Louisville. Kenny Payne will be the first black head coach hired by Louisville on a permanent basis. And ladies and gentlemen, we get into a really good conversation about black head coaches and the New York Knicks and their roster of young black men having black head coaches. Make sure you check it out on the entire show. But Kenny Payne would no longer be a Knick. Well, not a Knick, but a Knick assistant coach. The question is, where does Tom Thibodeau go? Who does he bring in to replace Kenny Payne, if he brings in anyone at all? This is where the conversation about Mike D'Antoni and Jalen Brunson's dad comes up. What kind of coach do you think Tom Thibodeau needs to bring in? I tend to think that he should bring in a coach who has NBA head coaching experience. I think that would be advantageous to him as well as the players on the team. It can help Tom Thibodeau in strategizing, adjusting, etc., etc. Just having another head coach's perspective on the bench, I think, is advantageous to the team. So I'd like him to bring in a coach of that stature. I don't know where you get him. I don't know who. I mean, there's names out there, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can throw some names out there. I don't know if all of them are going to be who we want, but, you know, throw those names out there in the comments. I want to know what you're thinking and where Tom Thibodeau should go. I do think it should be a Tom Thibodeau hire and not a Leon Rose hire. A Tom Thibodeau hire. Let Tom Thibodeau go get his guys, the people who he believes can speak his language to the players. So congratulations to Kenny Payne, ladies and gentlemen. I hope he does very, very well. I believe he'll do very, very well in Louisville. And last but not least, Quentin Grimes, folks. Sounds like Quentin Grimes is ready to return to the lineup. Of course, now you're going to ask the question about Deuce McBride. But anyway, this is Quentin Grimes. Take a listen. There we go.
Yeah, I felt really good. I had a really good 2 practices coming into today. And tomorrow I got Shootaround, see how I'm feeling again, and I'll be ready to go.
All right. You heard what he said. 2 really good practices. I think he came back to practice on Tuesday. And it sounds like he's going to be ready to go tomorrow as the Knicks take on the Washington Wizards. But the question is, what happens to the lineup? Does Deuce get singled out? I had this discussion with Steph. And there's room for Deuce McBride to continue to play. But the question is, what does Tom Thibodeau want to do with R.J. Barrett? Because, he switched up the rotations a little bit so that R.J. Barrett could get some playing time with the young guys because he didn't have another 3. Cam Reddish got hurt. So now, how does he proceed? There's enough room. You can have Emmanuel Quickly, Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, and Jericho Sims. They're all first and second year players. Tom Thibodeau might be losing his brain, but you can have him out there, and I think he should, to be honest with you. But we'll see how that rotation works. My question to you, ladies and gentlemen, does Quentin Grimes come back and start getting minutes just like that? We know Tom Thibodeau likes him. Or does it take a little while for him to work his way back into the lineup? Find out what Steph thinks. We had a good conversation about Deuce McBride and how those rotations should work on the full show. So make sure you go check out the full show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out of here. Be peaceful and spread love. We out.